Hello everyone, Clark the Geek here, welcome back to a brand new video and a bit of a different one. Today it's a Star Wars related video and I want to do a bit more Star Wars content, but I'm slowly getting around to it. So the Star Wars films, obviously they're beloved, everybody loves them, but there are those that do get a fair bit of hate. Think Attack of the Clones, The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. But one that tends to get a fair bit of hate, and for a long time a lot of people would have said it is the worst Star Wars movie, is Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Personally, I don't think it's that bad, and here's why. First thing I want to talk about is the tone of the film. It feels a lot more different and more distinct to the originals, which is a good thing. You don't want to copy the same sort of... You just don't want to copy it. And this, it almost feels like a period piece within the Star Wars universe, because obviously it is in the timeline, the first film, chronologically. So yeah, it works like that, because obviously you've got fancy costumes, extravagant locations. I mean, just look at Naboo, look how fancy and gorgeous it looks. And you've got like really shiny looking ships, which contrasts the original trilogy, which was quite grimy and dirty and run down, and it's really good to just make it more distinct. In addition to that, I think the world building in general is quite good in this film. It expands the Star Wars universe and it explores other things that you didn't really see in the original trilogy too much, like the politics and the Senate, and it's not particularly great. They can be quite boring, but I do appreciate them trying to add a bit more, something different into this film. As well as that, you see other things like the entertainment within the Star Wars universe with pod racing, and considering this was obviously before the Empire took over, it makes sense that these kind of things would happen, and I like that. Speaking of which, the pod racing scene is a brilliant action scene. It's such a great sequence. It's so tense, and it's just a ton of fun. In general, I think the action in this film is actually pretty good. I mean, I know a little bit of the CGI is dated, but I like, it's a bit bigger and a bit grander. I love some of the space battles, especially the one at the end with like the control ship. That's a really good fight, and some of the ground battles are pretty cool. But by far and away the best battle, I'm pretty sure everybody agrees with this, it's the lightsaber battle with Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan and Darth Maul. It's just a perfect lightsaber battle. You've got the choreography, which is great. John Williams' score, Duel of the Fates, it is instantly iconic. You've got the different locations, like when they get to the bridges, which, pardon the pun here, adds an extra level of tension. You got the emotion of the fight when Qui-Gon Jinn gets killed off and when Obi-Wan finally strikes Maul down. Speaking of Darth Maul, he's a great antagonist for the film. He's very cold and, he's very silent but sinister, and he's got this real presence about him, and even though he doesn't do much, he really works in the film. And if you do watch the Clone Wars and Rebels cartoons, he is expanded further, and yeah, he's just a really cool villain. To be honest, there are a fair few characters that are quite good in this film. You've got Palpatine, who's, very charming and a bit cheesy, but, he's pulling at the strings without you really realising it in this film. You got Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan, which has always been a highlight of the prequels, and I think Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan is just brilliant. But the one that stands out for me in the film is Qui-Gon Jinn, played by Liam Neeson. He's such a cool, interesting character. He's a badass for one thing, but he's really interesting. He's not someone you would say would turn to the dark side, but, he doesn't necessarily agree with the Jedi and their decisions, and it creates an interesting dynamic, and his relationship with Obi-Wan is really cool. Obviously, this isn't a great film. It's got some massive flaws with it. The pacing's quite off, with some of the politics, it's quite boring. Some of the characters and acting and dialogue is pretty poor. It does rely quite a bit on CGI, a bit too much, and we had to suffer through this skit, Jar Jar Binks. But this film, I think, does have merit, which does get overlooked a bit, and I find it quite an underrated Star Wars film. I'd probably put it in my Star Wars film ranking, I'd probably put it somewhere near the middle. I'd give it like a 6 out of 10. I don't mind this film, I genuinely don't hate it. Is it perfect? Of course not. There are massive problems, and if you don't like the film, I totally get it. But honestly, I don't think it's too bad. And maybe if you give it a rewatch, I don't know, maybe that might change your view of the film. Anyway, that's this video done. So I hope you enjoyed it. What are your thoughts on the Phantom Menace? If you like it, if you don't, let me know in the comments below. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, click the notification bell so you don't miss a thing. And it's Clack of the Geek signing out. Goodbye, everyone.